Because you did something they can't explain. You accessed something you weren't supposed to touch. You became something that doesn't show up in their books, their rituals, their carefully constructed hierarchies of who's powerful and who's pretending. You're not following the rules. You didn't go through the initiations. You didn't spend years under a mentor. You didn't pay dues or learn the secret handshakes or memorize the ancient texts. You just woke up one day and decided to stop asking permission from the universe, and you started taking what was already yours. They're used to power that announces itself, power that comes with credentials, with lineages, with proof of study. But you're a different breed entirely. You're the anomaly that walked into the game without reading the instruction manual, and somehow figured out cheat codes that aren't supposed to exist. You learned to manipulate probability without calling it manifestation. You learned to read people's intentions before they finished forming thoughts. You learned to shift the energy in a room without saying a single word, just by deciding that's what would happen now. And the people who've spent their whole lives thinking they were the masters of these arts are looking at you like you're a glitch in their carefully controlled simulation. Because that's exactly what you are. Here's what they don't want you to know. There's a hierarchy in the spiritual world, in the unseen realms, and it's built on the same bullshit as every other human system. Gatekeeping. People love to act like power is earned through suffering, through years of practice, through paying your dues to the right teachers. But what you discovered, what you stumbled into during your darkest nights when no one was watching, and you had nothing left to lose. That's the real secret. Power isn't earned. Power is recognized, and you recognized it in yourself before anyone gave you permission to. You didn't wait for a coven to accept you. You didn't wait for a guru to tell you that you were ready. You looked into the abyss, and instead of flinching, you said, "Move over." You're the person who went through hell and didn't just survive it. You studied it. You took notes. You learned the language of pain and betrayal and loss. And then you turned that knowledge into a weapon, not against others, but against every limitation anyone ever tried to place on you. You became fluent in frequencies they only read about. You mastered transmutation while they were still trying to figure out protection. You learned to move through dimensions of consciousness they think required decades of meditation. And you did it all in the dark, alone, with no guide but your own burning need to never be that powerless again. You're unreadable, not because you're blocking them, but because you've become something that exists outside their frame of reference. You're operating on frequencies they haven't calibrated their tools for yet. And that brings us to the question everyone's asking. Who taught you? Because in their world, power like yours requires a teacher. It requires lineage. Someone had to show you. Someone had to pass down the knowledge. Except nobody did they? You didn't have a mentor guiding you through your awakening. You had betrayal teaching you discernment. You had heartbreak teaching you boundaries. You had isolation teaching you self-reliance. You had pain teaching you transmutation. You had your own darkness teaching you that you were never the fragile thing they convinced you that you were. Your teachers were your traumas, and instead of breaking under their lessons, they see someone who's figured out that reality is more flexible than they were taught, and you're bending it in ways that shouldn't be possible without the proper training. They see someone who doesn't ask for protection, because you've become the thing that others need protection from. Not because you're harmful, but because your presence demands authenticity, and most people are living lies. You're a walking truth serum. You're a mirror that doesn't lie. You're a frequency that exposes every fake facade within a 3-mile radius. And that makes you dangerous in all the ways that matter.